UFC Atlanta Usman versus Buckley just finished, and I'm going to break down the whole card, starting with the prelims, ending with the main event. And this was a pretty good card, guys. The first fight, Jamie Lynn Horth versus Vanessa Demopoulos. This was a classic tall versus short dynamic, but it was a huge mismatch in size. I honestly have no idea why Demopoulos moved up in weight. Originally, I thought this is like the worst matchmaking in the world by Sean Shelby, but I actually realized it was terrible decision making on Demopoulos' part because I'll tell you what she said after the fight. But anyway, she had no ability to close the distance. She barely landed a punch the whole time, and fucking Horth just pieced her up at range, kicking her, fucking punching her, and just literally doing whatever she wanted the whole time. And after the fight, Demopoulos is there like to the camera, even though she lost 30-27, she's just like, yeah, I just wanted to show everybody that I'm here to fight. I'm here to fight. It's like, okay, great. Let's set you up against John Jones then, because at least that's a fight that he'll take. And if you don't mind fighting people that you're completely outmatched by, we've got awesome matchups that we can put you against. Next, it'll be Tai Tuivasa. Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Anyway, and moving on to Phil Rowe versus Ange Loosa. This was another tall versus short, but the short guy, Loosa, actually got inside early. Loosa was clearly winning rounds 1 and round 2, getting in, doing a lot of damage, taking down Rowe and dominating him pretty well. Phil Rowe made a huge comeback though. In round 3, literally like a holds Loosa up against the cage by his face and just starts beating the shit out of him until eventually he's on the canvas unconscious. Crazy finish. I don't know what you do with Rowe from there, but it was fun to watch. Next, we had Ricky Simone versus Cameron Smotherman. Ricky Simone, by the way, is the guy who beat Merab Dvalishvili, but you would never know it if you actually watch his fights, because not that great. But ironically, Cameron Smotherman basically got smothered the whole fight. It was 3 rounds of Ricky basically just holding him down. And nothing else worth noting, honestly. Moving on to Cody Durden versus Jose Ochoa. This one was a really good fight. Really, tight first round. Jose Ochoa is this young 24-year-old guy, super crisp striking. Cody Durden, on the other hand, 10 years older, crafty vet, used his takedowns to stop Ochoa's striking. But round 2, Ochoa just exploded. It's like Cody Durden must have taken all of his tacos or all of his pesos or whatever term we're going to use here to make this funny. And in 11 seconds, Jose just beats the shit out of him and lays him out. Anyway, moving on. Malcolm Wellmaker versus Kris Moutinho. Kris Moutinho is literally the UFC's punching bag on call. This time he came back. This is the guy that had the green hair when he fought Sean O'Malley. And he comes back this time with his normal hair. And Wellmaker just styled on him the whole time. Looking really good, all of this type of stuff. Big kicks to the leg, hooks to the body, setting up that big hook to the body. Hook to the face that ended up flatlining Kris Moutinho flat on the canvas. My problem with this was that after the fight, pretty much everyone on the internet started glazing Malcolm Wellmaker like he's just, the next, I don't even know, like, I want to say Sean O'Malley, but then I feel like a dickhead because Sean O'Malley beat Kris Moutinho and that's part of his highlight reel, but like, people were making it seem like Malcolm Wellmaker is better than O'Malley because he was able to knock out Kris Moutinho. And it's like, I'm pretty sure that Sean O'Malley probably loosened that jar up with the hundreds of strikes that he landed on him in their 3-round fight. But also, it's like, this guy is a can that the UFC gets in on short notice to get his head kicked in. Like, this shows nothing. Anyway, I'd like to see Malcolm Wellmaker fight like Faraz Zahabi's brother, Ayman Zahabi. That'd be like a good bantamweight test fight and stay standing. It'd be interesting. Moving on to Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee. Honestly, this was like the battle of the journeymen. I really don't know why these two are still fighting. You could say that like maybe they're both doing it for the money, but Michael Chiesa's like on all of the TV stuff for the UFC. He commentates sometimes. It's like, do you not have enough money? Do you really need to go in there and do this? Neither guy really looked that good. I think the decision really could have gone either way, but they gave it to Michael Chiesa. Moving on to Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato. This fight was ridiculous. Interesting-ish fight. Rodolfo Bellato seemed like he was in control. He was definitely winning the first round, dominating the striking exchanges, and then gets Paul Craig down and is, trying to land some ground and pound. And then with less than 10 seconds left in the first round, Paul Craig lands an illegal up kick. On the way down, Rodolfo Bellato goes, To the ref. Like, like soccer players when they, get headbutted or pushed or something like that and they fall pleading to the referee, like they're more focused on getting the attention of the referee than whatever injury they're pretending to have. That's what Rodolfo Bellato does, but then proceeds to pretend to be unconscious, like knocked out cold, and then pretends to wake up, scramble to the fence, and start trying to like wrestle with the referee like he doesn't know where he is. But there's no way it was true because like you don't just that just doesn't happen. You don't go, "Hey referee, give me your attention," and oh now I'm unconscious. That just doesn't happen. So anyway, I guess it was up to the referee's discretion. It could have either been a no contest or a disqualification, depending on what the ref decided. Ref ended up going with a no contest, which I'm actually happy for because honestly, Rodolfo was winning the round, faking that injury like that. When the upkick didn't even really land fully, it sort of landed like here, is shit. I don't want that shit in the UFC. Like, I'm not here for people to be like doing illegal moves and stuff like that, deduct a point, whatever, but like you're going around faking like you got knocked out. I do not want this turning into WWE. I don't want this turning into soccer. Literally Oscar-worthy performance. Neymar would have been proud. Jesus Christ. Moving on. Alonzo Menifield versus Umar Sy. We get into the main card now, and this is where my picks actually started. And I got this one right. And I got it right based on the experience of Alonzo Menifield. Now, I don't know if it was just experience. I think Umar Sy's stand-up is terrible. For a guy that's so tall and is like such a heavy grappler, his footwork is terrible. He can't get in there and make those punches land. Alonzo Menifield, you would have thought that he was like the taller guy. He was out at range, making Umar Sy miss. Every time he would miss, Menifield would come in and throw a combination. And the first two rounds were relatively close. It could have gone. I think that you could have given one of them to Umar Sy just because of like holding Menifield up against the fence, but in the third round, Menifield started landing a lot more effective punches and doing more damage, and so it was pretty clear that he won the fight. And they did give it to him. I think two judges gave it to him like 30-27, and one gave it to him 29-28. Moving on to Mansour Abdul-Malik versus Cody Brundage, the other undefeated fighter. So Umar Sy lost his virginity. Mansour Abdul-Malik kept his. I got this one right as well. Honestly, this wasn't that surprising. Cody Brundage is sort of the guy that just gets like fed to the up and comers, similar to Kris Moutinho, but at least Cody Brundage gets some notice. But Brundage looked pretty good. It was surprisingly close. Honestly, I think the Brundage could have been up 2 rounds. But with everything about the event and just it being in Atlanta and Abdul-Malik being like an undefeated up and comer, I felt like close rounds they're probably going to give to him anyway, and it looks like they did because in the third round they start going hell for leather. Abdul-Malik rocks Cody bad as they're just like throwing crazy punches, and then he goes to land a knee up against the fence and they clash heads with each other. It sort of looked like Abdul-Malik headbutted him basically, and then Cody Brundage basically got finished on the ground. And the way that they did it was, this is like 30-40 seconds into round three, but they basically decided, because it was so late in the fight, to score the fight up until the point that it happened. So they scored the third round even though there was only 40 seconds of the third round, and Abdul-Malik won 29-28. I agree with the judge's call if that's the way that we're going to rule it. And I think that makes sense. Like when you're that far into the fight, it would have been shitty to see that go as like a no contest. Maybe you could give it as a disqualification because honestly, it did look like a hell of a headbutt, but benefit of the doubt, it could have just been a clash of heads. Anyway, moving on to Cody Garbrandt versus Hani Barcelos. Cody Garbrandt, round one, looked amazing. Like he looked like vintage Cody. He did catch a knee that cut him, but other than that, he was making Hani miss. He was landing big, strong punches. He was doing his old aura farming thing. Like reminded me of the Dominic Cruz championship fight that he had back in the day. And then, you could tell by the end of the first round that he looked a bit gassed. Like just in between the two rounds, he was gassing, and so he burnt out, and in round two and round three, he basically just got mauled by Hani Barcelos. Not mauled, but Barcelos was just able to put pressure on him, keep attacking him, and Cody Garbrandt really didn't have anything. So he shit the bed once again. I think the Cody comeback dream is officially finally dead, and I'm annoyed because what I realized during the lead up to this fight is that an O'Malley fight that we could actually have would be him versus Cody Garbrandt. If he wins this, I could see them just making that one immediately, but I think that this kills the O'Malley fight for good as well. I don't see their paths ever really crossing. Especially after fucking Cody says that O'Malley looked like shit in his last fight. It's like, dude, you looked terrible in this fight. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, moving on. Edmen Shahbazyan versus Andre Petroski. This was basically Edmen's power versus Petroski's terrible stand-up and grappling that we never got to see. Well, you sort of saw it in the third round when it was like too late. You're meant to be finishing the fight, and now you're trying to grapple after you tried to stand up with a guy that has much better stand-up than you. I don't know. Honestly, it was a pretty shitty fight, but Edmen won by decision, and I really don't understand why Petroski didn't wrestle. Like, he really should have implemented the type of game plan that Kamaru did, which we'll get to in a second. But these grapplers, like him and Umar basically just abandoning their strengths, I really don't understand it. I think this is where like the experience of guys like Kamaru Usman really comes in. They've just been in there so many times, they know what to do. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. Honestly, this was like 6 a.m. when this fight was happening because I'm in Cape Town, South Africa, and I was starting to like nod off watching this fight because I don't really love the women's fights in general, and it wasn't the most entertaining one in the world. Rose was winning the fight, but almost got caught in an arm triangle at the end of round two. It was pretty close to finishing her, I felt like, but it was so late in the round that nothing really ended up happening out of it. And then in round three, Rose came back, actually rocked Miranda. Again, it didn't seem like the strongest hit in the world, but these women fighters are just not that good. Now that she's at flyweight, it's like, what's next for her? There's no way on earth she ever beats Valentina Shevchenko, so I guess she'll just be like a gatekeeper of that division. Moving on to the main event, Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. Man, this was an interesting fight. I can't believe that everybody counted out Kamaru, including myself. I thought that Joaquin Buckley was just going to go in there and destroy him, but Kamaru seems like he learned from his Hamzat fight. He's even implemented some of that Hamzat, just like beautiful shot-taking style. As soon as Buckley started putting pressure on him in the first round, he immediately put that double leg, put him on his ass. Buckley tried to like get up against the cage, and then Usman just dragged him off the cage and kept mauling him. Good solid ground and pound right at the end of round one. When they get into round two, same exact thing. Usman just takes him down, starts mauling him. At the end of round two, Usman tries to like aura farm or like style on Buckley by like as Buckley's trying to get up on his hands and knees, Usman's like riding him like a horse. But then because Buckley goes to keep standing up, Usman literally just falls over onto the ground. And, even though Usman says his knees are great after the fight, it made it look like his knees are not fantastic. But I think it was just like obviously off balance, showboating when he probably shouldn't have been, and a little bit of karma for him in that moment. But honestly, Usman nailed this fight. Rounds 1, 2, 3, 4 all go to Usman, just pure dominant wrestling. He almost became Usman Nurmagomedov, the Dagestani. It was like full-on Dagestani wrestling style. And in round 5, Buckley comes back, literally stuffs every single takedown. Stuffs more takedowns in round 5 than Kamaru shot in the rest of the entire fight. And he's piecing Kamaru up. Uppercut, hook, uppercut, bang, bang, kicks, just everything. Kamaru was taking damage. He was not in a good place in that 5th round, but honestly, it was too little too late. What can you really do when you've just thrown away 4th rounds, unless you're going to do a Leon Edwards and like headshot dead, which didn't really happen. Usman in the post-fight interview basically just wanted to tell everybody to go fuck themselves for doubting him and saying that he had old man knees and all of that stuff. He's a force. He really is. I think that he could beat both JDM or Islam Makhachev, honestly. Be interested to see how he would do against like a Sean Brady or a Shavkat. I don't know if he'd win those fights, but he seems back, and honestly, in the wrestling department, he seems better than ever. In the striking department, it seems a bit like eh. But maybe with against a guy that's not as powerful as Joaquin Buckley, his stand up might be a little bit better because he's not going to be as afraid of what's coming back at him. But when Buckley throws, you just gotta get out of the fucking way, man. He hits like a truck, it looks like anyway. Anyway, that was the main card. It was a fun fight night. I think I was 3-3 on this one. I got the Alonzo Menifield pick, the Mansour Abdul-Malik pick, and the Rose Namajunas pick. But I got Cody Garbrandt wrong, Edmen Shahbazyan wrong, and Kamaru Usman wrong. I guess Hani Barcelos, not Cody Garbrandt. You know what I mean. Guys, I'm really enjoying building this channel. If you're liking the stuff that I'm putting out here, I would really appreciate some love on it. I've been up all night. It's literally almost 9 a.m. I'm about to go to sleep. And if you could just throw me like a like, leave any comments or feedback in there, it really does help this video get out to more people. And if you're not subscribed yet and you want to see more of this, subscribe, please. Please! See you guys.